Okay, so apologies for anybody watching on the internet. I'm not going to stand in front of you. I can't be bothered. I need to move around, otherwise I can't talk properly. First of all, before I get going, I want to say thank you to everybody in Australia. I know you're all very famed for your hospitality and everything like that, but you've made me feel so welcome, even from a distance in the UK, currently in Brazil. But you've also all been so kind in your comments about my course. And I just really want to emphasize how much I appreciate that. It's been really, it's just driven me on. And the growth in Australia has been phenomenal. And the way that you've been getting behind the course and giving me feedback, it's been wonderful. It's made the course much better from the previous version. I'm on version 2 now. So thank you. Am I on this one here? Okay, so echoing Dale's comments, I want to pay tribute to the Taral people, just your custodians of the land, past, present, and future. And actually, probably this has ever been done before, but also to the Tupi-Guarani people, where I'm currently located in Brazil when I'm not here. I have lived in Brazil, well, before I'm in Brazil now, but I used to live in Brazil permanently for 9 years, and not once did I ever hear in any conference of any kind a recognition of the traditional custodians of the land, never once. And so I think Australia is very much ahead of the curve in this regard. Still a lot of work to be done, obviously. But in Brazil, I just want you to understand that in many other parts of the world, indigenous populations still suffer quite a lot in terms of the lack of recognition and lack of consideration. So I wanted to highlight that. Okay, so you know that you all, I mean, is anybody here not a GSA or AIG member who's just floating through? No? And was that? No? Okay, so great. Who here has actually subscribed or enrolled already on this course? Okay, not enough. Okay, you all have access. Okay, you all have access. You all have your dedicated landing pages here. And if you want to have very quickly make note of this, I encourage you to whip out your smartphones very quickly and scan this. It's completely up to you. I don't mind if you want to run up here and take a photo. It's up to you. I will put this up at the end if you want to. It's not a problem at all. You can see.
Sorry, I'm just going to check what all these raised hands are.
What raised hands are there? Okay, what are they trying to say?
Good question.
Let's have a look. 9. We can't see anything. I know you're sharing. It's being shared. Yeah. They're not muted. They're not muted. Camera in wrong direction. Oh, they want to see me. I did tell them. I did. All right. No, don't worry.
Sorry about that.
You could do that. Camera's here, but I can't stay here, guys, unfortunately, guys and girls. So anyway, I'll put this back up at the end if you want to enroll in the course. If you don't have the password, just log into your AIG or GSA accounts. You'll get the password there, or a coupon. It's not a competition, okay? It's not. Because in all fairness, the GSA has had access for a longer period of time. But currently, there are 111. But this is amazing, right? This is at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Access started at 9 o'clock this morning for the AIG. Already 56 enrollments. I can imagine AIG is going to be, well, it's already nipping at the heels of the GSA. It'll be overtaken pretty soon. So no competition. If you're a member of PISA, you also have access for free too. That came online this week. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who are not, which is the vast majority, who haven't even seen this platform at all, it is an on-demand course. You can do it at your own pace, so there is no excuse, okay? Oh, I'm too busy. No, you just do it, okay? And you get the modules listed on the site here. It is a very wide-ranging and comprehensive course. If you do it very quickly, it'll take you about 9 hours. Again, dipping in and out as you wish, right? Some people take 30, 40 hours because they want to throw everything at it. They want to wring every ounce of value out of the course by doing all the assignments and quizzes. So it depends on your life and how much you can invest in the course, but I highly recommend it. Okay, before we do that, has anybody ever done a Kahoot before? I can see somebody looking very excited. Anybody else? No. Yeah, guys, you poor deprived people, okay? I want you to get out your smartphones and you will go to a website because we're going to start with a quick quiz. Now, granted, those people who've done the course are at an advantage, but it will test your preconceived ideas about what is good communication in the geosciences in all areas. So if you've got a phone, get it out now, please. Some people haven't got phones. What planet do they live on? Anyway. Okay, here we go. So what you're going to do, I'll put this up here. Cue the music, the cheesy music. So what you want to do is you want to go to kahoot.it. You see that at the top there? Is that lazy? So you go to kahoot.it. Oh, some people already know this very, very well. And then you'll be prompted to enter this game pin here, okay? You can choose a fictitious name if you want. Otherwise, I will know who you are. Okay. Muscles. Very modest people here. Fictitious name, very good. Oh, there you all are. Oh, yeah, we've got 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. This is great. This is what I call real participation. Incidentally, if you're a lecturer at a... If anyone's a lecturer at a university, use this. It's free, okay? You've got to do it. It's amazing. Okay. Okay. The first question is really easy, just to help you familiarize yourself with the platform, okay? It's not hard. Some of them are not questions, they're polls. But here's how it works. If you get a question right, you get points. If you get a question really, really fast, you get more points. The faster you answer, the more points you get, okay? Yes? There are more people in this, obviously, yeah. Papa Smurf, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, good. This is awesome. I've never had so many people. This is great. Okay. Now, if anybody hasn't joined, the game pin is still at the bottom of the screen, okay? So if you get kicked out for some reason, you can just get back in again. All right, let's go. We're going to start. 40 people. Maybe the winner might get a Geologize t-shirt. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Poll. So this doesn't count for anything. Have you done practical geocommunication? There we go. Yes or no? That'll be just tell me. Very fast. You see there's a time limit there, 13 seconds, 12. All right. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to skip the timer if that's everybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I've got red with no.
Oh, no. No. It's really important you read the answers. Are really important. Before, no, it means yes. So 17 people have already enrolled or done it. That's great. That's really good. Okay, quiz. This means points, okay? Which of these is the most important aspect of communicating a subject? Not saying that none of them are important. They all are important. Okay. Oh, wow. Oh dear. Never mind. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Of course, weaving a story is really important. But if you're reading a story that doesn't resonate with somebody, yeah, it's not really going to work, is it? Obviously, expressing empathy and understanding the audience, putting yourself in their shoes comes first when it comes to actually creating the story you want to create, okay? So you need to listen first and have empathy. However, Rocket answered fastest. Hey, right, okay, cool quiz. Which is the most important part of communication? Speaking, listening, equally important, neither. Should be easy, I hope. Come on. Yes. Well, of course, you need to speak to communicate, right? So I would say they're equally as important, because if you don't speak, then you don't communicate. So obviously, but you need to listen for the reasons I said in the previous question. Willow nipping. Okay, it's a puzzle. Put them in the right order. Lowest to highest. Put in the right order of increasing engagement. Anyone done any pedagogy will know the answer to this. Got a bit more time this time, but you know. Well, you got 8 answers so far. Come on. If you don't know, guess. Now, if you've done the course, there's no excuse because it's in there. Okay, we're almost there. 38. How many people? Okay, most of you, almost everybody got it wrong. Okay, so describe very quickly. Describe is what most of us do when we talk to the public. We just go out there and tell a story. We speak to people. This is how a mountain is formed. This rock is a sedimentary rock. That's how it normally works. Unfortunately, it has the lowest level of engagement. Yeah, because it's not going to resonate with the majority of people. Consult. You're actually soliciting this person's feedback in order to create content or what you actually want to say. So you're actually involving the person in your message. I beg your pardon. Explain. I beg your pardon. Explain comes next, is where you're actually explaining how something works, then consulting, then activating is when you're actually giving the person something to do that they want to do themselves after you've finished speaking to them. So they actually go away as active learners. That is the pinnacle of what we want. You want them to go and do geoscience at university. They want to go and study something without you being there, without you talking. So that's activation, the best. Okay. Okay, Paul, no points required here, okay? On the whole, humans are rational agents. What do you think? What do you think? Totally out of control? Interesting. 4 people think we're totally out of control. Okay. Sometimes rational, sometimes not. I would go with the yellow one. I think so. I mean, it's true that we are not completely rational. We are close relatives of chimpanzees, which means we are prone to some of our baser instincts, right? We don't really think completely rationally, but we do think, right? And we do rationalize stuff. So I would say yes, personally speaking, but I respect René's opinion. That's fine. Another poll. Do you support disruptive climate activist tactics? No right answer here. It's a personal opinion. It's interesting. Yeah. Most. What's that all about? Yeah. What is that? It's almost like, okay. It's interesting. I would just know, why you think it's annoying, but I understand why it's annoying. But I mean, that's an interesting discussion that we can have. Okay, quiz, game on. What is the number 1 reason why people agree with a point of view? All right. Absolutely. So you get it. You understand, right? I mean, if you disagree with something, that the barriers go up. You don't really, you get defensive, right? But if somebody you agree with somebody, then yeah, you're more receptive to their messaging, which makes you wonder. I mean, how can I actually communicate in a way people agree with, rather than challenge them, right? That is actually really important when it comes to mining geology. We'll talk about that tomorrow more often. Okay. Oh, rocket just fell off. Oh, it's getting personal now. Oh my God. Okay, he's fell off the leaderboard. Oh, whiz. What do these popular Geologize videos, mine, have in common? Okay, so love story. How, I can't remember the name of the title now. How the breakup of Pangaea caused me to meet my wife. The geology of Brazilian cake. Okay, what do these have in common? Was it cake is provocative? I don't know. I mean, maybe I mean, if you're on a diet, that's true. I guess it would be. But yes, they involve human subjects. And they are, before I started my company, I did social media. And they were my most popular videos, right? I did other videos which talked about geology and informational stuff like that. But those ones were the most popular because they touched on human subjects, okay? And that's something that we often miss when we talk about the geosciences. Yeah, okay, quiz. What part of the brain decides whether something is worth remembering? And if you've done the course, you've got a distinct advantage if you can remember. Difficult. Amygdala, basal ganglia, fusiform gyrus, cortex. Nah, no one's ever heard of it, right? And why would you know that? It's actually called the bouncer of the brain, like a nightclub bouncer. So it actually literally, it receives information, it compares that information with what's gone before and decides whether that actually is worth letting in. Yeah, so the parietal lobe, which is where memories are formed. And so that means you need to adapt your information to stand out from what has gone before. Otherwise, people are habituated. People just don't care. Yeah. So that's actually kind of interesting information to know. Okay, we've got a new leader. Interesting. What makes this geopark map so good in attracting people to the region? There's a geopark in France. Can't really see this very well. What have we got here? Nature activities, associations, restaurants, museums, artisanal producers. This is a geopark map here. Little typo here. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's always, there are things there which have nothing to do with geology, right? Which means that people who are disinterested in the geosciences will actually want to go to that region and then actually be introduced to the geosciences through that back door, yeah? So activities offered that are related to other interests, and people can plan their own trips. So actually giving the audience the decision about what to do. Oh, who do you trust more on the subject of climate change? Activists, scientists, skeptics, politicians? That's probably an easy question since you're all scientists, but I mean, well, okay, I'm not going to ask about the minorities there. Okay, politicians. Okay, no. Quiz. Okay. Who decides what is interesting? Oh, they're all coming thick and fast. Everybody's pretty sure. Come on, it's the last couple of people. Oh my goodness. So most of you thought that you think. I've got some news for you. What you think is interesting is relevant, okay? It doesn't matter what you think is interesting.
If you're in the audience, it does.
No, wait a second. Don't confuse it with your feelings of feeling like enthusiastic. That's important, right? But what is interesting, the audience decides. Remember, you can be more convinced about an opinion if you agree with someone's opinion, right? And so if the audience actually feels connected to your message because they're interested in your message, then that is what you have to do to actually deliver that content to the audience. You have to use what they're interested in to actually get your message across, not what you're interested in. And you need to be enthusiastic about it. Absolutely. Oh. You're talking with someone who thinks mining is a bad thing. Write the number one thing that you would say to them. You have to write it. Okay, well, here it is. Okay, what would you say? Okay, but if it's not road, it's mined. Blah, 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 blah. Interesting. Okay. Yes, we'll get onto that, especially tomorrow. Something good. But it's interesting. I like that. It shows a good spread. And I'm interested to speak to this 5 here because that's actually kind of interesting because you're actually expressing empathy with somebody who doesn't like it, right? Okay, the podium. Let's see who got third, second, and first. Here's number 1. Anybody has geos here? Geos. If you're listening, send me an email to haydon@geologize.org, please, and I'll get a T-shirt to you. As long as you're not in a place cost a bomb to get to. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna close this. How do I close this? I'm gonna close this. Well done. Okay, now I'm gonna get back to the presentation. Okay. Okay, good. So, okay. Well, obviously we have a problem. We don't need to beat around the bush about it. I wouldn't be here if there wasn't a problem. My business wouldn't exist if there wasn't a problem. But this just kind of shows to you, if you go to Google Trends and just put geology and go back as far as you can, you'll see that there is progressive decline in people actually looking for the term geology. You could put whatever you want in, really. I mean, you could put geoscience in, same thing, right? What's going on? What's happening here? We talk about super cycles and stuff like that, but just on the face of it, we have to accept that there is a decline. Earth science, same thing, okay? So that is a concern. Obviously, it's affecting industry now in terms of blockage in the talent pipeline. It's a huge concern, especially to smaller companies who can hoover up all the talent there is, like the BHPs and the Rio Tintos. So they're all suffering as a result of that, okay? And we should be very, yes?
What's the periodicity related to? Is it calendar year?
What can you see?
There's definitely periodicity.
Oh yeah, there is an ups and downs here. What's that related to? I don't.
University enrollment?
Could be. I'm just trying to figure out what that would be. It looks like there could be enrollments. Maybe, yeah. That would be good. 14 to 20, is there 6 cycles here? Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5. Yeah, probably something like that. Good observation. Yeah. Okay, so what's why? Why is this happening? Well, we can think of an enormous number of reasons why we have a pretty poor public image. There are oil spills. There are dam failures, especially in developing countries where fiscalization is not so good. Aquifer contamination. Something's flashing at me. And obviously, forest fires, the consequences of climate change and the association with the fossil fuel industry, and that which is associated with the geosciences. melting permafrost, and of course, indigenous rights. We don't need to really talk about that in Australia. You know very well what I'm talking about. And all of this combined with social media makes it really very, very difficult, very effective environmental lobby, which are holding us to account, but they also have a much better, well-oiled publicity machine than we do. We're totally outgunned. And so, you know, with the ability to share at a click of a button, it goes all over the world. I think this goes a long way, not the whole story, but it does go a long way to suggest why. It extends way longer than a super cycle, let's put it that way. Going back to 2004, why there's been a precipitous decline in the interest in the geosciences. Yes?
Quick question. Have you done similar analysis for something like physics or chemistry?
Yes, the decline is not so pronounced. There is a small decline, but it's definitely not obvious. Yeah. Okay. And so, yeah, you can have a conversation. I mean, many geologists, before they take my course, and they say, oh, yeah, I have these difficult conversations with my family, and I go to a work lunch, people discover that I'm a petroleum geologist, and I get berated by people. But I mean, look, geologist, public, it's a common question. Who cares about geology? It's just old, boring rocks. It hurts the planet. And I just wanted to ask you guys and girls, what do you say to that? Seriously, babe, what do you say to that? I'm just going to ask you to pause. I'm going to pause. I want you to maybe, I don't know, speak to the person next to you if you like. What would you say to that point of view? Who cares about geology? I'll give you a minute, and then I'm going to write down your comments. Actually, on here. Go. I'll get some water. I'm just listening and just... All right, that'll do. My favorite answer. My favorite answer I just heard was whatever, you know. But okay. Anybody want to just shout something out to us? What we just.
Civilization wouldn't exist without geology.
All right, okay. Civilization wouldn't exist. I can't see what I'm typing, but I hit that. Okay. Yes.
I was going to say we would need
Okay. But I mean, is that an answer to the question that the person was like, why should I? Okay, people who live in their minds, yeah? Right. NIMBYs, okay. I don't particularly like that, but okay. NIMBYs, okay. It provides the key to a sustainable future. Nice. Yes, politicians answer. Yeah. No, I mean the obviously you would elaborate on that. You wouldn't say key to a sustainable future. Yeah. Okay. No, I'll take your point. Anyone else? Yeah. 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 Oh, I can give you a few answers for that. Yeah, yeah, definitely. What? Yes, and then they're not. So what happens in the middle? What's
Picking up on what Chris is saying is the first thing I'd challenge is geology is not mining. Let's talk about geology.
so you know like you appear to be confused.
You can't make money, but you love geology.
Okay.
Serious question, eh? How many schools have geologists in their group?
It's now physical geography. Yeah. That's.
I know I'm saying Australia, 0 schools.
Oh, you're talking about universities, yeah?
I'm talking about
High schools. Okay, yeah. Okay. So now it's. I mean, it's.
So now in terms of STEM and science, it doesn't exist.
Okay.
You're not physics, you're not chemistry.
Okay. Well, I'd like to talk about that afterwards, but I mean, there's quite a lot of geology in the UK physical geography curriculum. There is tectonics. You know, there are. Yeah, there's plate tectonics and there's you know, basic rock types and there's the rock cycle and stuff like that. But obviously it's a very crowded curriculum. They can't do much else. But I take your point. Yeah.
Depends on the type of geology.
Oh, okay. So yeah. What kind of geology? So you're throwing the question back at them. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It is the what? Oh, okay. So you don't like the planet? Yeah. So you don't like the planet? I like that. Yeah. I've used those a few. That sounds. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can argue about the definition. I always thought it was about the 3 major rock types. I guess it's not about the atmosphere, for example, which is also the earth sciences. Yeah, it's a large part of that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's enough to be getting on with. That's really good. Well, I think we'll come back to that actually, because I have a few comments to say about that, which is relevant later. Oops, no, that. Okay. So, I mean, a few things that we'll actually do about it. I mean, I will come back to those comments, but what do we actually do about it on a day-by-day basis? Yeah, we do public talks, which, as I said, are pretty one-directional. We don't. It's not really very good pedagogically. We do broadcasts to school children, and we do bus tours. I think AIG-GSAQ does bus tours in New Zealand, right? There's a tour that goes around. You don't know about that? No. Oh, never mind. No. There is, apparently. And this is one in Scotland, actually, that they do that. They're doing a good job in Scotland, getting the Geo bus out from St Andrews University. And we do tell great stories, don't we? I mean, you know, it's amazing epic stories written into the rocks, don't we? So we talk about volcanoes and earthquakes and tsunamis, and yeah, we talk about dinosaurs. So that inspires children. But I would say, we also go on field trips, and I don't want to rub it in, but this is 30 minutes from my house. It's just amazing. It's the Jurassic Coast, Durdle's Door, it's absolutely amazing. And we take school children there and we say, look at these verticalized limestones and shales. You know, you've got this collision of 2 continents. It's just absolutely incredible, you know. And the kids are kind of interested. They're like, wow, that's amazing. But I can tell you as a teacher, I did do geography teaching for quite some time. That strategy of evangelizing the earth sciences for the sake of the earth sciences, right? We do kind of go for the ground fruit of a tree, right? This is the easy pickings that we can get. If a child is already curious about nature, curious about the planet, that will get them, absolutely. And we need to do that. There's no question about that. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but I'm just saying that the low-hanging, the bulk, the sweet fruit, which is the vast majority of people or children, aren't really going to be captivated by that. It'll be like passingly interesting. Now let's go and play Mario. Okay, it's going to be that kind of attitude. Okay, So I think we need to maybe broaden our demographic appeal slightly. And given the way the job market is right now with universities hemorrhaging numbers, I think we do need to increase our appeal. And that means expanding beyond just the low hanging or the ground fruit. Okay. We also do use echo chambers a lot, don't we? I don't want to say any names, AIG-GSA, but they, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, right? Old people use these platforms, okay? We want to target the younger demographic, right? That's what everyone's saying. We've got to get the new next generation in there. We're going to get together millennials and Gen Zs, right? Why are we doing, as I remember, it's the same. In LinkedIn, 2% engagement. Twitter, shocking engagement. 0.06% of your followers on Twitter will actually do something with your post, either comment or like it or whatever, yeah? It's very disheartening, yeah? So you got these so-called influencers on Twitter, 30, 40,000 followers. That's important geoscientists. But then you get like 10 likes or nothing really happens. It just doesn't go anywhere. So these are three echo chambers that nobody actually uses in the target demographic that we want to attract into our subject. Why, therefore, are we ignoring, I beg your pardon, AIG, very quickly? It's one of the stated objectives of the AIG is to actually inspire future geoscientists. And I think that's really, really important. Yeah, I was having talked to Dale this morning about this. So he knows, that's fine. Oh yeah, if there's something about, yeah. Okay. Is it flashing at me here? Okay. But I think that if that is the stated, and it is the stated aim of the AIG, then needs to be on a platform which actually is relevant to the future geoscientists, right? It actually targets them, right? GSA has a major Instagram account, right? Look at this, 32.3 thousand followers. That's huge for Australia. It's bigger than the AusIMM. AusIMM doesn't even have one, actually, just some student chapters. It's huge, and it's almost as big as the AGU in the States, which is way, way bigger than the GSA. So that's really good. However, even looking at the description, it is inward facing. It is to share information and what's happening with their own members. And even then, the engagement is 0.14% of the actual following, which means even the GSA members or GSA followers don't really care what's actually being put on the GSA Instagram account, right? So it's not engaging to them. It's not much. It's important that it's there, but I think if using that information, this general data you can get from any profile, you can start to tweak it and start to actually make it captivating to those who are disinterested or who don't care about the geoscience, to get them into the geosciences, because that is a huge potential, pool that you can draw from.
Is it a fair assumption to assume that people are unengaged if they do not respond?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it means that they're looking at it and then they're looking at something else, right? You can follow the clicks. I mean, if you are the administrator of that account, you can actually see how many people are actually seeing it and if they're actually following any links and doing anything with it. Otherwise, they're just scrolling and just doing something else.
But that doesn't mean they haven't thought about it.
Okay, no, that's true. Absolutely fine. It's just a metric. Yeah, it's just an indication. That's fine. Yeah, I'm just. All I'm saying is that for an Instagram account of that size, you would expect an engagement to be around about 5 to 7%, which is much higher, and it's very, very low. Okay, that's all there is. Does someone have a hand up there? Okay, that's fine. They're similar to Twitter, so that's actually quite an achievement to be so low. Okay, and then there's the association, I kind of alluded to this before, association with bad communication by industry. Okay, and I want to show you an example of that now. All right.
Do you ever consider how much your world depends on petroleum-based products?
Okay, what's the matter with that? Okay, what's the matter with that? I mean, anything wrong with that at all?
Why are you attacking me?
Are they attacking the consumer?
Yeah, they are.
In what way?
And they're trying to guilt them.
Right, right. Okay, okay, yes. So exactly. So this, and we do this the same in mining, actually. I'm not a miner, but I've seen it happen in mining, right? You know, minerals in a smartphone. Yeah, if it's not grown, it's mined. Yeah, and so what it's doing is essentially, if somebody is skeptical, and we know that it's the majority who are either ambivalent or skeptical about the petroleum industry or the mining industry, and they see something like that, it doesn't matter how valid the observation is. What matters is who's saying it, right? And this is a petroleum lobby group in Canada, yeah, Oil Sands Action. And they're basically saying this, which means in the ears of the consumer, we're important, yeah? You should be grateful, basically. Your life depends on us, right? Now that just sounds arrogant, doesn't it? You're not going to win any public support with a video like this. Just not going to happen. And the worst thing is, it's been shared on echo chambers, of course, like LinkedIn, by petroleum geologists who give themselves a big pat on the back. Yeah, man, this is exactly, we got to tell the public this, you know, this is exactly right. If the public knew, they would just shut up, you know, I'm paraphrasing, yeah. But it is basically like this, you know, petroleum geologists telling each other how great they are, yeah. And that's inward facing, and it actually is counterproductive to what they want to get the message across to the public, yeah. So we also do this, I'll show this tomorrow actually. We talk to ourselves a lot. Who needs geoscientists? Written by a geoscientist for geoscientists, right? Geoscientists for the energy transition. There is a permanent recycling of information, and I'm not saying it's completely useless, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but it is geoscientists telling geoscientists how important geoscientists are. And I would suggest that geoscientists should, to get their training done properly, know how important they are. I think. I could be wrong, right? There is a kind of, there's a large turnover in the mining sector, especially amongst younger geologists. So maybe this internal discussion that we have is important to retain the talent that we have, right? So that might be the saving grace of these kinds of articles. But I would suggest that we certainly don't do enough public outreach, and what we do is not very effective. That's not actually going to get anybody on board because it's only published in Geoscience articles, communication. So, okay, quick 1 minute discussion with your partner again, very quickly. What would you do differently to reach the general public? What strategies do you think you could employ to actually communicate more effectively with the public? Okay, 1 minute, go. I'll get some more water. Okay, okay, that's enough of that. Yes. Shh. That's it.
Mining has changed.
Okay, it sounds like you're saying it's still dirty, but not so.
It's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Like, probably up in high temperatures, pollutants, we get an acid generating.
You easy to see with.
We're more environmental. Not as bad as not good enough anymore. You have to be bigger, like you can't say, oh, we're not killing everyone around town, so therefore we're better. Don't start for you. I do think times have definitely changed, but we've also need to acknowledge that we can do better.
Yes.
And that there's so much.
Okay, that's good. So you're actually acknowledging there are faults now, right now.
Yeah,
Th-
like
that-
this tailings, I'm the person that's at the tailings dams,
Yeah.
that I would bring that up, and that's what I do. I work in petroleum, and I always say, yes, we are not doing as good as we can. And tell us like what else we can do. These are the things we are doing.
Excellent. So, yeah.
What else can we do? If you have, ideas, then you would find
Okay, so you're inviting the public to be involved,
need to be listened to.
genuinely listen to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Complex issues, and there are complex solutions. There's no simple.
Yeah.
And I mean, my reflection is that everyone's after a single silver bullet, just make it go away.
Yeah.
And if we keep pandering to that, we won't actually solve it.
So you think people should be more aware, maybe scientifically literate, and in terms of like accepting the nuance in when it comes to developing something like a mine, for example, there are unknowns, known unknowns, Donald Rumsfeld kind of thing. But that's a long-term thing, right? I mean, that requires a lot of work at school to actually help them be aware of scientific uncertainty, because right now they think it's all about certainty and it's black and white.
Well, I think it's a very broad thing. It's not, what science is, what engineering.
Yep.
Everyone wants the silver bullet.
Yep.
Now.
Yep.
And you can want it.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get it. So, we're not going to decarbonise the world by having heartfelt people canvases. You can solve the problem.
Yep.
They have to.
Yeah. Okay.
You can't just want it. So that.
But
Engage. Say this is going to take
Yeah.
work.
yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I like the question of you're empathizing with the public, so it needs to go hand in hand. Roger, you had a hand up first, didn't you? Oh, sorry, yeah.
I think you briefly touched on it already tonight, like we're not using enough mediums to engage.
Yeah.
Bite-sized information, like geology is very technical and most people we don't need to be technical.
Okay.
And we only, like, there's probably 5 videos that I would show to a non-geologist to explain.
We bore each other.
Let's find out. Yes. Nobody's got what? Ah.
Petroleum with a big ground for minerals.
Yeah, so that was a big budget propaganda thing. That was Sir Anthony Hopkins doing a voiceover at the end. That was a lot of work. Yeah, but it was still rubbish though. Because oh my God, we got a lot of people here. Rene, sorry, I got to get to everybody.
I was going to say you can't really have a discussion and support it with facts in 2000. Facts are irrelevant.
No, it's relevant, yeah.
It's universities are crumbling around us. You don't go to university to look out what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
They're losing all their steam and people get their news from somewhere.
Yeah.
So we've got to completely revamp the way.
Yeah.
We're looking at the problem. You can't provide an argument to these people. They don't listen to science or argument or reason. They listen with emotion.
Absolutely.
So that's where the argument lies.
Yeah.
Emotional
Yeah.
sort of,
Which is what we have to do. Exactly. I'll take two more very quickly, and then we have to kind of move on. Yeah.
Just on outreach, like AIG supports TSET, which is Teacher Science Education in Australia.
Hmm.
That is actually getting into schools. But I'm doing a master's and earth sciences isn't covered. So I wonder about lobbying or
Yeah.
getting involved in educational
Yeah.
institutions.
Yeah.
Not geology
Yeah.
institutions, but education.
Yeah. So these that's top down. That's government. So maybe through Geoscience Australia that could some listen or something. Okay, one more. I think was yeah.
sort of following on from that. But yeah, the problems that we're facing were reached with things like these people going through education. The kind of links back to what someone said. The kids are interested.
Yep.
And then they're not. So there's not the continuation through the importance of geology through the education system. Investing in the education system.
Yeah.
Where through the failures.
Yeah.
Of the
Yeah.
losses made.
Well, part of the issue, I'll just very quickly touch on that because it's come up before. Part of the issue is that in primary school, there is a sense of wonder about everything, and there is that child's natural curiosity where they come out of the womb, they want to touch everything, experiment, and repeat stuff, and they're always natural scientists. And in primary school, that is maintained. But then when they go to secondary school or high school here, right, the curriculum is taught to the test, right? And so science is introduced as a series of facts and accomplishments. And you need to remember those to pass the standardized test that somebody in Canberra, in this case, has decided that every well-educated child should know, right? And so that's really bad for stifling curiosity, stifling a natural wonder of the world, yeah? So I definitely, but this is not just in Australia, it's all over the world, yeah? And so I think that that is the disconnect that happens between primary and secondary education, and why in general, there's a drop in interest in science in general, including geoscience, at secondary school. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm shockingly, I hate tests. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You touched on it yourself. You said scientific literacy in
Yeah.
schools. That's dog shit at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the headaches people are dealing with, getting vaccines in
Yeah.
their arms and chemtrails out of the sky.
Yeah.
And all this bullshit. That tells you straight away that we have got a scientific history.
We do. So somebody had their hand up. Yes, one more. Sorry.
Yeah, I just think of the word that you said there, and I think it summarizes me, as the young ones, each from one,
Continue to teach what?
Wonder.
Wonder. Yeah. So the sense of wonder and curiosity.
I think in schools, geology is regarded as specialised, like astronomy.
Yeah.
One of those sciences
Yeah.
that's just a bit too specialised.
Yeah.
People do geology, this is the closest thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Taking a comment from a head of school, at a high quality school in SA.
Yeah.
It's not physics, and it's not chemistry, it's not real science, geology is not real science.
Oh, it's just-
So it's a difference from- Really gonna beat that.
Oh, so that's interdepartmental ridiculousness at school. I get that all the time. It's like, oh, you do a geoscience. It's not really a science, even though it does involve physics, chemistry, and biology. So it's like, doesn't make any sense. But anyway, can we sorry, I want to, we don't have too much time. Obviously we'll have a discussion afterwards about this. I'm going to advocate, because the question was more aligned with strategies, and there were some strategies that we could certainly develop in those points there. But it was mostly, I think what we need to do is change the record, boom, like this, basically. And so, as I said before, is the audience, it was in the quiz, is the audience that decides what is interesting. Because it is the audience that gets emotional about their own interest. If they're interested in something, they actually feel an emotion, right? So we need to understand what the audience actually cares about, right? What do people care about? Well, it can be depressing sometimes. It could be home and away, or it could be, you know, yeah, it could be well, music. Let's say music, right? Everybody loves music. It's a natural thing. All over every culture in the world loves music. They're interested in politics. They're worried about what's happening in Ukraine. They're worried about if they can pay their mortgage, right? I mean, there's this day-to-day concerns that everybody has. Okay, so what I started to do when I started to do social media is do what everybody else does: inform people about amazing things like plutons, under the water volcano chambers is amazing. Epic pebbles, like the amazing story inside a pebble, and that got, you know, engagement. That was okay. People liked that. It was like, oh, that's interesting. But then I suddenly realized that in order for me to create an emotion in the listener, and if you've done the course, people watching have done the course anyway, we do these things pretty well. Ethos and logos. These are the three pillars, by the way, of any good communication strategy. Ethos, speaking with authority, credibility, you got the qualifications. Most people here have PhDs, pretty, yeah, we can speak with authority. We can tick that box, okay? Logos, we do have the data to sustain our arguments, or as you should do, otherwise you shouldn't really be here. But this here in the middle, this is what we're uniquely bad at as academics. So with this empathizing with the audience and have the audience empathize with us, that's kind of like trained out of us at university. We're trained to be dispassionate and present the data, introduction, methodology, results, conclusion. It's completely the opposite of what the public are used to. They want to know the conclusions first. Now, what's it got to do with me, right? It's completely the wrong way around. And we are trained at university to basically communicate incorrectly, right? And so that's a big problem. So this pathos here, creating emotional listen, has empathy with the audience, has the audience have empathy with the listener or the presenter, and therefore, what I decided to do was create content which resonated emotionally with the interests, in other words, I listened to people, with the interests of the audience, yeah? So you listen, what do they care about? What are their interests? So you fit your message around those issues. It requires effort because what you're doing effectively is reverse engineering what you want to talk about to fit what they're interested in, okay? And that requires creativity. Oh, creativity. Oh yeah, goodness me. But you're scientists, you should be creative, seriously. Or what do people care about? I just mentioned, I want to do this again because it's going to last another half an hour. But I just said mortgages, I just said war, I just said music, language, literature, all kinds of stuff. So I decided in my social media to get something as far away as from geology as I possibly can imagine, right? And then put it together, right? Did somebody think of something really, really far away from geology, really like as far away as possible? Chewing gum. How could we geologize chewing gum? Oh, come on. It's pretty plastic. Hint, hint, hint. You could do a pull-apart base and it's going to, maybe, something like that. Anyway, Veruca, intracrotonic basin. That's good. Anyway, you could do anything. Basically, you could pretty much do anything. So what I did exactly that. So music. I decided, how can I possibly geologize music? It's one of the projects that I did. It took me a little while to think about it. So here's what I did. I thought, okay, music is frequencies, okay? Are there natural frequencies in the earth sciences? And yes, there are. There are cycles, right? There are Milankovitch cycles, yeah? 20, 40, 100,000 years. And then if you've seen the ice core data from Antarctica, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, you see the temperatures go up and down in harmony with these harmonics of the precession, obliquity, and eccentricity cycles. You've all seen that. So I said, wouldn't it be nice if I could actually create a beat in the bass, which is 20, which has a rhythm of 20, 40, and 100, right? 2, 4, and 10. And then the treble superimpose a melody based on the Vostok ice data, yeah, the temperature data, material isotopes, yeah. So I did that. It was just a little play, and now I'm actually in the process of like doing it properly with a classical musician. Now, it might not interest you guys, right? Maybe it will, but I can guarantee more people will be interested in that than interested in Milankovitch cycles. If it's controversial. Through that vector, they might become interested in the earth sciences. They say, wow, like listening to the earth, that's amazing. Yeah, and the National Science Foundations love that kind of stuff. The arts councils get on board. This is amazing, like interdisciplinary stuff. So this is what I did on a synthesizer, and you'd be pretty surprised by the results. Okay, one beat, it was 10,000 years. Okay. Next one is the 40,000 year tilt. When it's the 100,000 years, 10. Now comes the temperature. Okay, that's nice, isn't it? It works. It works. It's not very high resolution temporally, but it works. Proof positive it actually works. Develop that a little bit further. You haven't got time for this, guy. I know you haven't got time for this. I know you don't. This is what I was doing in my spare time, because I actually had some spare time. But it's the kind of reverse engineering that you can imagine that you could do with something else, right? Which doesn't take so much time, that would actually engage people who don't care about the geosciences. And that's what we need to do, given the state of things right now. Interesting. Okay, so what else is there? I've just given you one example, changing the record, reverse engineering stuff. We're talking about more stuff tomorrow, but we do need to listen and empathize more. We just talked about that. That's the whole point of this presentation. But becoming better equipped using social media, we need to use, this is just a list, a shopping list. There are more stuff to add. Using geoparks and geotourism to engage the public, communicating effectively with indigenous populations, because as far as I'm concerned, as speaking with indigenous populations, and this is a new module on the course which is coming in the next few months. It's pretty shoddy still all over the world. And I think we need to award and incentivize outreach in our community. And the Geological Society of London has a medal that does this. People actually feel like they are being recognized for their work in the community. I'm not sure if that exists in Australia at the moment. If so, maybe it needs to be publicized more, and more organizations like the GSA and the AIG have to have their own systems of recognition. And universities need to actually incentivize outreach too, right? It's all about publish or perish, right? But if you have a system in place where university, this is top down, right? This has to come from the top. But if university ranking actually includes an element of outreach, then you might actually get academics taking it seriously. And be more inclusive in attracting geoscientists to the profession. I think I've got one more slide here. It's a big subject. It's a big, big subject. And luckily, it's all in the course that everybody can do for free, okay? There you have neuroscience, you have misinformation, confronting that in the public, advocacy, Geologize, and we touched a bit on geologizing today, social media strategies, geoparks, indigenous outreach. This gamification of VR is going to be absolutely huge in the future, absolutely enormous potential, and writing for the public, okay? All that's in the course, as I said, AIG, GSA, PISA, all have access. So I think I would just say that the onus is on all of us, okay? We can wait for the powers that be to implement top-down strategies that try to encourage the public to take up the geosciences, right? We can do that. But we can take action ourselves now. And by doing the training, by becoming more familiar with how important it is and how, well, nothing's easy. The more you do it, the better you get at it. By doing it en masse, all I need is just like 1 or 2% of your membership to actually take it seriously. Then already you start to have significant impact on public perception, right? That's already enough. But everybody should do it so they stop dissing, right? Communication as just a soft skill. It's actually really, really important. It's super important to actually changing public perception, getting enrollment back into universities, and unblocking the talent pipeline and a bunch of other stuff. Really important. Okay, thank you for listening.
Thanks, Haydon. You mind staying around for a few more questions?
Yeah, of course.
We haven't been kicked out yet, but probably will soon. So we'll just keep some of the questions brief. And if I can hand the microphone around to whoever's asking the question, so the folks at home get to hear it. And we'll try to do maybe a couple of questions from home. So anyone at home, if they quickly type their questions into the Q&A panel, we'll get to a couple of those. But first of all, anyone here?
Are there any industries that we can learn from that have been through this sort of process that you've described today and done it really well?
Goodness. Physics seems to have done quite well. It's funny, somebody just mentioned here, one of the suggestions was find a younger Ian Stewart. I don't know if it's past his sell by date, but yeah, it's true. We have like Brian Cox in the UK, and he's been wonderful for the subject. But no, there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no science which has decided that they need to train their scientists to become better communicators, because it is ingrained in academia that outreach is a low priority, right? It's really not really important, yeah? And academics often become industrial geologists, and industrial geologists, guess what? They have a day job to do, and yeah, they're not rewarded for doing outreach. So I don't think there's any parallel, to be honest with you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Do you think we'd benefit for working more closely with social scientists to get some of this stuff done?
Can you give an example of the stuff that you're talking about?
Like trying to understand how to better engage with communities, how to effectively manage, measure if we're being successful in engaging with communities?
Absolutely. I would say, yes, I mean, let's say Ian Stewart, structural geologist, didn't work with any other geologists. When he was at Plymouth as the head of the Environment, Sustainable Earth Institute, he spent the entire time speaking with psychologists and other departments, and social scientists, because he wanted to develop strategies and ways of measuring engagement where he could actually really make a difference on public perception. Yeah. There's no question. I think we do need to be more interdisciplinary, and we sometimes geologists like say, oh, you know, engineers don't like us, but we are guilty of the same prejudices against the social sciences. Yeah. And it's just not healthy. We work together, absolutely, or we'll be more effective. Yeah.
It's the climate change area should be.
Oh yeah.
It's significantly in the last couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Progress is made.
It's a huge issue because, I mean, if you think about it, when it comes to climate change, draw a parallel with COVID. At the beginning of the pandemic, I'm not sure in Australia, but the government was trying to influence people like in the present, influence their behavior so they could change the numbers 2-3 months down the line, influence the infection rate, and hospitalization. Climate change is an order of magnitude more difficult because you're asking people to change their behavior to avoid the consequences of climate change that might occur decades down the line. And so the geosciences is simply not equipped to communicate in a way which actually resonates with the public, which effectuates change in their behavior. You need to understand psychology, even the neuroscience, if you have to go that deep, to actually communicate that effectively. And it just hasn't happened.
Within the sciences and the geosciences particularly, there is no single voice. The geosciences is a very fragmented science. There are so many different organisations, and as you've just shown, 3 of them that are singly representing aspects of geoscience. Do you think it's important to have either, and I don't want to use the word authoritative body, but a single body that presents geoscience information to the community?
I mean, as far as that authority has credibility and has the ear of the public, hasn't, fine. But I would suggest it's not essential. Okay, nowadays, just give you an example. There is a girl called Kate Larson. Her handle on TikTok and Instagram is Groovy Geologist. She's got only a bachelor's in geology. That is it. Yeah, and she's got 125,000 followers and an engagement rate of like 8%. Yeah, she's doing more to encourage people to get into the geosciences than any of us, right? And she's not getting any money for it. She's not getting anything. She's doing it because she loves the subject, right? And as I'll say tomorrow, you can't buy that kind of genuine. She's a genuine article, right? People trust her. She's a face. You can't buy that kind of engagement as an industry. If you are high up, you're a unified voice, then automatically, unfortunately, the public are going to think, who is this? It's a vested interest. That is, they're saying that because they have to say that, right? If the Pope says he believes in God, he's just doing his job, right? If he says he doesn't believe in God, he might be onto something, right? Well, listen, you want to listen to that, right? So an authority automatically, I mean, it's subject to sharply diminishing returns in terms of the engagement that the listener is actually having with that person. So I don't think necessarily, I think it needs to be grassroots. I think it needs to be bottom up. That is the way it's going to most organically happen with change, yeah.
Well, on behalf of the AIG and the GSAQ, everyone here and at home, thank you very much, Dr. Haydon Mort.
Yeah, thank you.